Alright, I'm gonna record like a video right now because I want to have this idea out. And maybe if I ever I might come back to this. I'm not good with words, sorry. But yeah, if I ever have like better video editing software, I might come back to this thing. But I just wanna say I have an idea for a video that would be like some big documentary that a lot of other YouTubers make, but I'm not sure if I'd be able to personally make it. But my idea is just like something that's like, what is the best way of playing Donkey Kong? Now you might be thinking to yourself, the best way of playing Donkey Kong is playing it on the arcade machine, but playing it on the arcade machine doesn't give you the full story. Playing it on the arcade machine, you're limited to arcade stuff. You have like if you're playing it on the arcade release, well, then you only have the four levels to play through over and over again, and eventually you're gonna hit a kill screen because that's how arcade machines worked. But any other remake is going to be lesser than it. So what are you gonna do? Well, you could play. You obviously would never play an Atari version. Atari games are known for the fact that they never hold up under scrutiny. The whole reason people began to associate the creatures in Pac-Man with the word ghost is because of the flickering on the Atari version. Like they were never considered ghosts in the original game, and in fact were explicitly shown to have like physical bodies under their sheets. Like, have you ever watched the Pac-Man cutscenes past the first one? There's like a whole video documentary someone made about this. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's great. But anyways, so obviously, arcade machines have kill screens, but Atari games have their own major limitations. Now, what about the NES? The NES was designed, you know, to a lot of games like Mario Bros. And Donkey Kong were designed around the philosophy that they shouldn't make them too complex in order for them to be easily portable to home consoles. But the thing is that you know you run into problems with that. Like there's going to be something that gets cut because the NES isn't as powerful, so you'll get like slightly worse gameplay, slightly worse everything. Everything will be slightly worse, and some people will see the changes as better. Some people see them as worse. It's going either way because they're two different systems. They're going to be need to be programmed with different code. So playing on any port will likely be a worse version, but they also might not run into some of the original game's problems. But anything because of the fact that the kill screen in Donkey Kong isn't caused by energy overflow like the more famous Pac-Man example. The kill screen in Donkey Kong is simply caused by the fact that each level, in order to make each round of Donkey Kong harder, the game doesn't actually keep track of, how many times you've beaten the game. It's just a simple thing where every time you beat a level, then your timer starts a little bit lower and a little bit lower. And eventually, it's possible to reach a point where you physically can't go any further because there physically isn't enough time to reach the end. Because Jumpman moves at a set speed and he can only climb up ladders at a set speed. So even if there are no barrels, there's a point where you can't make it to the ladder you can make it across the screen, up the ladder, across the screen, up the ladder over and over again, and then finally up to Pauline. There's a point where that becomes impossible to do running at the game's fixed speed within the set amount of time. So there is inevitably a kill screen. And any version of Donkey Kong that plays through the same four levels, getting progressively shorter and shorter, will have a kill screen. But what if there is some version of Donkey Kong that didn't have that issue? Obviously, there's probably like there's like the Game Boy version, like the Game Boy Gallery version of Donkey Kong, like the Game Boy Gallery. Ooh, there's that one. Like obviously, no, the Game Gear Gallery. So, no, Game and Watch Gallery. I'm flipping all my words. It's like 10:30 right now. I'm just pitching ideas. Sorry, but anyways, no, stay confident. Stay confident. Don't get anxious. Anyways, so the Game and Watch Gallery version of Donkey Kong. Well, the original Game and Watch version of Donkey Kong doesn't look very much like Donkey Kong at all because it's a Game and Watch game. So, but the Game and Watch Gallery version, Game and Watch Gallery, is known for the fact that it tries to take Game and Watch games and port them over as faithfully as possible. But when it comes to Game and Watch versions of normal games, it does its best to make them into more of games. For example, Jan Measley did a fantastic video over the over the lore implications behind the original Game and Watch Mario Bros, which technically beat Mario Bros. Arcade to the punch for the name. So it's technically the first Mario game. And so they in the video they mentioned how there are two separate Game and Watch Gallery remakes of the game, and both of them add a mechanic where Bowser will occasionally stomp the ground and reverse the conveyor belts, which is something that wasn't missing from the old version, but it was added so that way there would be more gameplay than simply putting Mario and Luigi in the right spots at the right time, which is something that, they bring up as a point for their claim in the video. You can watch it if you want. You don't have to. Alright, enough selling out for other YouTubers, though. Um, there's also, so, you might be thinking, well, if the Game & Watch, if the Game & Watch version has similarities, but is a simpler version of the arcade version, but the arcade version itself runs into a kill screen issue, then what version of Donkey Kong are you going to play? Well, I have an idea for a version that you might not be thinking of, and no, I'm not thinking of I'm definitely not thinking of the DK64 version of Donkey Kong. That's just normal Donkey Kong, but it doesn't loop because you save something else. Imagine Donkey Kong, except there's this slow intro, and the fact that it's literally running a modified arcade ROM within the N64 ROM, and I haven't personally done this because I don't like the game. I probably wouldn't like it if I played it, but, I mean, I might like it if I played it, but, it's known for not being the best game. But I've heard people who've tried to emulate the game run into major problems with the fact that the game tries to run an arcade emulator within what it's presuming to be an N64, but is actually an N64 emulator. And that can run into problems, I believe. Although, like I said, I haven't tested it because I haven't run the game, because I don't plan on playing the game, but I might. But I won't keep you updated on it because that would be potentially getting me in trouble, but I'm not good with the law because I'm only 16. So, yeah, if I'm not talking about about Donkey Kong 64's version of Donkey Kong, a home console version of Donkey Kong, the arcade Donkey Kong, or the Game & Watch Donkey Kong, what could I be talking about? Allow me to bring to your attention the Game Boy version of Donkey Kong. A game that seems pretty standard at first glance. It's just Donkey Kong, but on the Game Boy. It's perfectly standard for games to be ported to the Game Boy. Well, not many games had that treatment. I believe the first one was Tetris, which you could wait for the movie to come out to watch, but you could also just watch the Gaming Historian video. I feel like that one's just more of a no-brainer, so I don't feel like that counts as selling out, even though no one's paying me to say any of this. But yeah, anyway. Anyways, my voice sounds so drab, probably. I don't know. I'm not good at being able to hear how my own voice sounds, so let me just try and raise the pitch of my voice a little bit, see if this sounds more natural. So yeah, there was Oh, yeah, right, the Game Boy version of Donkey Kong. So, the Game Boy version of Donkey Kong might look pretty standard at first glance. And then, if you sat down and played it, you might notice the fact that, there's a few differences. For example, if you play it on the Super Game Boy, it's in full color. That's a very nice touch that they added. It even has a custom arcade border designed specifically for it. Of course, again, I've seen people complain about the fact that some emulators have a problem rendering Super Game Boy colors, and while, I've never thought about emulating this specific game, and am not going to state whether or not I've emulated any other games, because Nintendo would be mad at me if I said whether or not I emulated my own games. And even if even if I said, hey, I only emulate games that I own, they would still come at me, which is why I'm not saying that. And if they take that out of context, then I did the goofy voice, so that way they can't. Ha 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 ha. I win. So yeah, so you might notice, you might think, oh, it's just portable Donkey Kong, and if you were to plug it in to your Super Nintendo, then it also works as a home console version of Donkey Kong. So that way you can have, it comes with a save file system, which is kind of strange, but, you could keep your progress on the same console. You could keep your progress on the same cartridge between your home console and your portable console. Just seems like a nice touch, like a precursor to the Switch, except it's on two consoles, but the same save file and cartridge. It'd be like if you owned a Switch Lite, and then Nintendo came out with the Switch docked, which is like a Switch dock that has the built-in like a closed box that is a Switch permanently embedded into the Switch dock in case you only want to play games on your TV and don't want to play them on the go. Because they have this because if you want to play games on your TV, you have to buy a full Switch, but if you want to play games on the go, you can spend less money. Nintendo needs to do that because there's a market for one end, but not for the other. There's a market for portable gamers, but not for the much more popular home console purism. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, anyways, yeah. So you can have your same save file on the same cartridge for both the SNES and the Game Boy, and the graphics will look much better on the SNES, but they also can run on the Game Boy. So what's so special? Well, if you sat down and you played the game on either console, you would notice that Mario has some of his more modern moves that he can do much more advanced maneuvers. He can actually do some things that you'd think would be obvious from the original Donkey Kong that were absent, such as the fact that he won't just die if he jumps from one girder to a lower girder, which is a very nice touch that I don't know why there was fall damage in the original Donkey Kong. And you might be thinking, oh wow, it's Donkey Kong. But with the 3D Mario moveset, that must have been really technically advanced. But it gets even better. This was before 3D Mario, I believe. So, that's just so grand. I mean, yeah, I believe it was before 3D Mario. I mean, the Game Boy came out. The Game Boy came out before the Super Nintendo. So, I'm pretty sure that the Donkey Kong, I'm pretty sure, well, they might have been around the same time, because I know Donkey Kong was 96. It's Donkey Kong 96. I believe that's what it's called. Donkey Kong 96 is what it's referred to as. But I don't remember when Mario 64 came out. The exact date. I'm afraid if I look it up, then YouTube will end this recording and I'll have to record 14 and a half minutes all over again. So I don't want to do that because this isn't even scripted and I don't even know where I would start and I would just give up on the whole project. I hope I don't run out of memory with my iPad. I hope. Yeah. Although I notice how, look, I can move my hand everywhere and, turn on the light if I wanted to, but I'm not gonna because my mother's sleeping right next to me. You might think, oh wow, how are you, doing that darkness thing on your iPad if you're not covering up your camera, and even if you turned on the lights, it would still be dark. Yeah, I'm not actually doing anything. The back camera has just been busted for like a few years now, and I haven't been able to get Best Buy to do anything about it. So yeah. Anyways, back to Donkey Kong. If you might notice the fact you, anyways, you'll. At this point, I've already pointed out the fact that there's Super Game Boy compatibility and the modern moveset. So those are all very nice. But where the real kicker is the fact that after you beat the game keeps going for another 100 levels. Like this is like in case you were wondering, hey, this seems kind of familiar. Don't know where I've heard this from. This is the precursor to Mario versus Donkey Kong. Not Mario versus Donkey Kong 2, 3, and 4 though. Mario versus Donkey Kong beyond the first Mario versus Donkey Kong became all about the mini Marios because the first game had them and they were a fun little puzzle mechanics. So they decided, why not completely change the mechanic? Why not completely change the mechanics behind how they work and then make 5 games about them, including one that's just an amiibo challenge, where every individual amiibo, including different colored palettes for things like the Woolly Yoshi amiibo. Oh wow, look, there's 3 Yarn Yoshi amiibos, so there's 3 different challenge sets around each Yarn Yoshi. Amazing. Like, but like the original game was just a combination, a sort of midpoint. There were basically this game, Donkey Kong GB. It was like a really good game, smash hit, amazing. It flew under the radar for a lot of people, but the people who did play it loved it because it was like Donkey Kong, but then it wasn't like Donkey Kong. And then Mario vs. Donkey Kong was all like, oh, what if we did that, but on the GBA? And then we added all these fun minigame levels to the end of each world in order to mix up gameplay. And then the sequel to that was all like, alright, yeah, but what if we took out everything but the end of the world? And then made that the whole game. But also, in those levels, you still play as Mario. So, what if you didn't play as Mario and instead the minis had a completely different, completely like like completely unfounded in the original gameplay idea? And so then that's how the series went on. But mainly, Mario, like I was saying, back to the main topic of the video, Donkey Kong 96. It's good. Never played it before though. I wanted to get a copy, but I know that it wouldn't be good without an SNES and a controller for the SNES and the Super Game Boy. But I won't just settle for any Super Game Boy. I would need the blue clear plastic Super Game Boy 2, which added link cable support, which I don't really need. I believe it had a port on the back that was never used because it only came out in Japan. And also, it had a clock speed adapter so they wouldn't play the games at the wrong speed, which was very nice. So I would need a Super Game Boy 2 from Japan, which means I'd also need an SNES with the tabs removed because I won't just rip them out like a lot of people say you should. I want them like removed carefully in a way that they can be put back in if I want to. Or alternatively, I could get like a cartridge adapter. That could work. So I need in order to play the game myself, and if you want to play it in your full glory, you would need a cartridge of the game, a Super Game Boy 2, in order to prevent clock speed issues, an SNES that has been modified with the tabs removed from the game cartridge slot so the Japanese peripheral will fit properly, a Super Nintendo controller, a Super Nintendo power adapter, the Super Nintendo cord that can plug the thing into your TV. And we need all that just to play Donkey Kong. But it's a very good version of Donkey Kong. But is it the best version? I don't know. If this were like an actual like gaming video, maybe like someone with a budget and an editing software and all these visuals, like I'm imagining like the whole like colored background or like white background and like these moving PNGs, like here's a still video, here's like a video I can pull up of the gameplay and play in the background with audio turned off and slightly smaller than my video, so that way the video that I'm using under fair use doesn't get auto claimed. Classic maneuver. Like if you watch like a gaming video like that, you probably know what I'm talking about. So yeah, oh, it's like 10:40 now. I might need to go to bed soon. So long and short of it is, so what is the best version of Donkey Kong? I don't know. You'll just have to find out for yourself. And who knows? Maybe you'll like the Game Boy version. Maybe you'll like the Game & Watch version. Maybe you'll even prefer the Atari version, except you won't because it's bad. So yeah, see you guys. Yeah, I'll see you guys. You won't see me though. That's the way this works. Yeah. All right. My mother forgot to get out my melatonin. It looks like it's gonna be a long night for me. Oh well. See you soon. Bye bye.